Hello guys, this is the Hexagon Zero and welcome back to another indie game of the month. Well, the second one to be specific, and this month it is going to be Distance. It is a Steam indie game, as you can probably guess, and it's a racing game, as also you can probably guess, but it's rather unique. It's not like normal racing games. First, a little backstory. From a reliable source, it originally started out as a high school project, and that apparently got a lot of traction online. And so the people behind it decided to go on and make it bigger and better. And they are. Right now, Distance is in early access for the foreseeable future. It came out, maybe, I think it was December. And this is my, essentially my run of the first level in the campaign. I'll get on to something a little harder in later on as the video progresses. But the campaign itself right now is only, you can beat it in about 15 minutes if you're doing okay. But it mostly resides on you going through a track. You've got the booster, as you can see, which is your engine overheats as time goes on, and you have to either not use the booster, which I don't really recommend, or go through regeneration circles, or do tricks enough to cool down your engine. And that's basically how you do it. What you see me also doing there is I'm using jet boosters on the side of my car to rotate myself in midair, and that becomes very, very important as time goes on. And there you see an evidence of a trick cooling your engine down. You can also fly by hitting the jump button and hitting the jump button again, as long as the level permits. There isn't much backstory to the game at the moment, but it does look to have some bit of promise. So essentially what's going on is that you are a car that's capable of repairing singularities and corruption. It kind of has a Tron feel to it, but I don't know the full story. I didn't actually look it up online to see if there was one. I probably should have done that before I recorded this, but oh well. So yeah, that's basically the premise of the game. There's several obstacles you have to go through, aside from jumping puzzles and a whole bunch of other stuff. There's lasers, saws, grinders, other types of grinders, glowing grinders that are on fire, walls, as you can see here, and it gets aggressively complicated as time goes on. And as another friend put it, I'm going to get very dizzy. And trust me, you don't, actually. It takes a little getting used to, having to, flip around, and gravity changes and you basically ride up and down walls, and that's fun. But it isn't that hard to get used to. At least I didn't find it that hard to get used to. It took me a couple runs of the I did 3 runs of the campaign. It took me less than an hour, and then I went on to do a couple of the challenge modes. There's a whole bunch of challenge modes in it. There's also a level editor that I will be featuring in a moment, but it's fairly comprehensive. I would recommend playing it with a controller. It's a very fun game, but I tried playing it with a keyboard after playing it with a controller, and it's not very easy. And when I say not very easy, I mean almost impossible to get the precision down that you need for the later levels. So yeah, I'd recommend running out and getting a Windows Xbox 360 controller, or whatever controller you feel would better suit you. I know PS3 controllers can connect wirelessly to your computer, and all this other stuff. There doesn't actually take much to run the game itself. The minimum requirements are very low and very reasonable. Really what I would recommend for this game is a decent GPU with some sort of shader on it, and a fairly powerful CPU, because there can be some stuff that goes around in there. Of course, I'm saying a fairly powerful CPU for a computer that maybe was top of the line 5 years ago. This game is very easy to run, and it's even better to record on, because I'm getting on an average about 120 frames per second, which is awesome. Let me tell you. Yeah, it's basically what the game is right now. Like I said, it's still in early access. There's online multiplayer you can do, and coming up I'll show you a little bit on the level editor here. After I go through these saws, navigate around. This is a fairly easy level. It's the 3rd one, I think, in the campaign, and then it gets a little darker if it were as the story goes on, but I'll let you guys discover that. Anyway, here, coming in a couple seconds, is the level editor. Now, it's very similar to 3ds Max, for those of you who have ever used that AutoCAD program. But anyway, here it is. Now, the reason why I'm going to be giving the level editor a lot of attention is because that's primarily where this game is at right now, community support. There's not just a campaign and the campaign's maps to go through, despite the fact that they are very well tested by the developers themselves, and it's fairly comprehensive and you can always trust that you're going to be led in the right direction. However, the community that is around this game is fairly sizable, and they do make a lot of tracks. I've downloaded maybe 11 or 12. I'm convinced there's about maybe 300 and maybe 200 more. And the program itself that you use to level edit here, it's, as you can see on the screen, fairly easy to understand. You might have to go hunting through the menus to find what you want, but if you've used any sort of animation software before, it basically runs exactly the same. I whip out a quick corner with a jump on this track, just because reasons, and I didn't really have time to make anything bigger, nor do I really have the know-how to, because it takes well, I keep saying it's fairly comprehensive, but it kind of isn't. You gotta know how everything fits together, and one thing I would recommend when designing one of these is to make the track, then put in all the decorations around it. As you could probably see from the footage, it was very well decorated, and lightning, and the lightning can't kill you, by the way, and walls moving in, and that takes a little bit more, I wouldn't say programming, but event knowledge of how to use this level editor. So to me, it looks like everything is custom built in there, so you don't actually have to tell an object to move in when your car gets close to it. That seems to just happen based on the object itself. So at least you don't have to figure that out. Other than that, I encourage you to play around with it, as I do a little bit here, kind of moving, I think this is the jump piece now? Yeah, moving the jump piece around in here. But that's where the game is at the moment. It's basically just a level editor and a short campaign. They're continuously working on it, at least I hope they are. There hasn't been an update in a couple months here, and it should be very, very good racing sim when it comes out. Fully, that is. It is an indie game, and it's an early access indie game, so we all know how that goes. Any sort of Kickstarter will give you the same idea. I didn't try any of the online play, but you can race against friends and strangers and lose, because most of the people that have been playing this game have been playing it for a while. But I would recommend playing with friends, as then you have a sure way of finding some other people playing it, because it is an early access game, and since this is probably the first time you guys have ever heard of this game, yeah, you might have a little trouble finding a match, let's say. But, you know, always worth a shot. And one more thing I'd like to mention about this game, it's gripping. I have found myself wanting to play it every single day since I started playing it. And it is so much fun. It loads up really fast. You can load it up in a couple seconds and basically get everything going. And it's quite fun. There's especially the way the devs honored the people who kind of supported them in this project is that there's a final level, and if you choose not to jump through a portal, you can actually drive around this kind of planet-shaped thing that's got the gravity pointed at the center. It's actually, I don't know where the gravity is on it, but it seems to be always down from your car position, and that makes it so that no matter which way you go, you'll always fall in the same direction. And there's no overheat on your engine, so you can use the booster, flight, whatever, infinitely. But it has little bubbles that you drive through, and each of those has a name on it, and those are people who contributed. Here is my run of the final level in the campaign, called Monolith, and I get a silver rank at the end of it. I have gotten gold on it, but this is just quick. I've been playing a bit of The Witcher, so this is just me doing the run, realizing that I didn't have any good footage of me doing something a little bit more aggressively complicated. I do a little bit of a cheat here. I do jump over most of the stage, but that's kind of what you can do. You can exploit it to get the faster time. I'm in sprint mode right now, so I'm trying to get as fast as possible, and you can see that it gets fairly intense in what you have to figure out and do at the same time, because Another tricky thing about this game is the lighting. The lighting is very neon, and the music that you can hear is very, very cool, but it's kind of hard to see. There's this particular point in one of the other levels when it gets very dark, and you just have to rely on the headlights in your car. It's very hard to do that, because you can't fully see everything. So, yeah, so I'd recommend maybe turning up the brightness if you're having trouble, but otherwise, take it in stride, because it's more of a challenge. It's awesome. So yeah, I'd like to really thank you guys for watching. That's all I prepped on this game. There isn't much more to say about it. It's a very good racing sim, and I would really recommend it if you guys wanted to do a quick racing game, because as we all know, Dirt 3 doesn't work on Windows anymore. Gotta love that. Made for Windows. Thanks, Microsoft. Anyway, I don't mean to rip on anybody. This is all about distance here in this video, so I will leave you guys with the rest of it, and I hope you at least consider it, or maybe watch a trailer of it online. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you again next month. This is the Hexagon Zero, signing out.